Did you catch this morning? I saw stories going around that a new Knights of the Old Republic game is in development.
Oh.
Oh. Not by EA or BioWare.
Then who is it?
We don't know. It's one of those things where it's like someone who would know said something on a podcast. Jason Schreier hinted at a few things, saying like you'll never guess who's making it. To which I start racking my brain and I go, "Fuck, who would make it? I don't even know." Like,
would it be like a major studio? Like not Ubisoft is one
for
thing.
Star
I think
Wars,
of, but
yes.
So who would it be? Who makes a lot of RPG? I know they're busy making Baldur's Gate 3, so it's probably not them. Whatever studio that was. I'm trying to remember who they were, but
well, it's not EA, which in my mind knocks out all of EA studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you would just throw it to BioWare, but BioWare is busy with Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Yeah, they have to focus on that.
Please, BioWare, take your time with those, please.
Yeah.
And whatever they're still doing with Anthem. So then you rack your brain, you start thinking, you're like, oh, maybe Obsidian. Oh no, they're still working on what is that game called? Avowed.
Avowed, yeah.
And that we're probably not expecting that game for a couple more years. Can you start thinking, oh, could it be any other Bethesda game studio stuff? I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, id? Would id do it? Would id jump off of Doom and jump into some Star Wars?
I'm assuming id's making another Doom game.
I would assume that as well.
I never played Doom 2,
they're
so I don't
doing
know.
something else entirely. Who knows? They've made 2 great Doom games. Machine Games is working on Indiana Jones, so it would make sense for that relationship to continue with Lucasfilm Games. But you would assume you would wait to see how the Indiana Jones game does before you make another deal with this company.
I mean, he did say he was surprised, like you wouldn't guess it, so maybe we just would never guess it.
It would be surprising to me because it doesn't make RPG.
Could be the first.
And as much as I'm a fan of taking established property and mixing things up, Knights of the Old Republic should be an RPG series. Now you can do something totally different and not make it a BioWare RPG. Make it closer in line to something else, but and then main Bethesda Game Studios is working on what is it called? Starfield.
Yeah,
I wanted to say Star Citizen, but I know that's that GoFundMe game or whatever. So yeah, I have legit no idea.
Yeah, I thought Respawn for a second, but they're owned by EA.
They're owned by EA.
Yeah,
and I'm just assuming that means no, and I also assume they're making Jedi Fallen Order 2 right now.
Yeah, they would be in charge of that.
So then I'm sitting here racking my brain. I go, could it be a Capcom game? Could it be a Square Enix team? Maybe a Square Enix team is doing it.
Obsidian? I know they were making.
We just said Obsidian.
Oh, do we?
They're making Avowed.
Oh, they were making Avowed. For some reason, I got them confused with ZeniMax, but that's not even a game developer.
No. Yeah. Could it be one of PlayStation Studios? Who do we not know? Who's not making anything right now?
Like those, a lot of people are making things right now. That's the problem. The studios.
I mean, I would like to see. My prediction for the next Naughty Dog game is a science fiction game, but I don't think it's going to be Star Wars.
They did say they were working on a new game, but it would be a weird thing for them to acquire the Knights of the Old Republic brand. It doesn't seem in line with them.
Well, not acquire, but just work with.
Work
on. Who else over at PlayStation do we not know what they're doing?
Definitely not From Software.
Sucker Punch is going to be making Ghost 2. Insomniac is making Spider-Man.
Not Platinum Games. They're still trying to get out Bayonetta.
Yeah. Ben Studios, Days Gone, maybe. I could see them doing that. I assume they would just be making a Days Gone 2.
I don't think we're going to find anything.
I don't think we're going to guess it. But the interesting poll would be id. What would that look like? But
I don't know.
At which point, is your Microsoft Studios, you're sitting there and you're going, hey, we bought Bethesda because y'all have a wide variety of games. You've got Machine Games and id doing all these action games, which are great. You've got Arcane doing these like crazy stealth, narrative single player games, which are great. You've got Bethesda Game Studio proper making all these huge, expansive RPGs. We already acquired Obsidian for their RPGs. Like, why are we just turning every studio into an RPG house? If we tap id for that.
So maybe this is maybe a wild suggestion.
Yeah.
And it is going to be similar to a story we're talking about later, but possibly Valve. I mean, no one would expect that.
No one would expect that. And no, I don't buy it. I think Valve would do something safe first.
That's what I would think too, which is the main reason why I don't think it's them. But they could handle something like that.
They could.
That would. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of like surprising. Like, would you ever expect that if you're trying to think of who would most likely make a game?
Yeah, I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't even racking my brain. I can't even think of who would be good. I mean, it could be another Ubisoft studio.
I thought Ubisoft.
I doubt it's the massive game. I don't think for a fraction of a second the massive Star Wars game is going to be a
Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic.
That would be Knights of the Old Republic. Could be a massive game in and of itself.
It could. Well, Massive Games is making that.
I know it could be a massive game too, though.
What do you mean?
It just still could be them.
Oh, you're saying it could be them. I mean, I guess, yeah, Division 2, I feel like you could still, there's a lot of RPG elements going on in there in terms of stats and gear and stuff and so forth. So I guess that would kind of make sense.
Either way, it's so early on in the work, we would never know for a long while.
Yeah, just a bunch of talks. But interesting little thing that caught my eye this morning. But Connor, we got more than enough news to talk about, and that's not worth all of our time. So let's jump straight into it. What's poppin', players? Welcome to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 27. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hi to the people, Connor.
How you doing?
How's your week, Connor?
Pretty good. I've started doing orders for Instacart, as I've told you a couple times before.
Now,
so it's like a little bit of money.
Are you worried about all this firing Instacart employees because they want to unionize? Was that it? Something like that?
First I've heard of it. I have not heard of any of that stuff.
You should do some research then.
Yeah, I just got word from a neighbor that it'd be a good gig to get some money. That's all I know.
Hey, well, there you go. Yeah, all those delivery services.
Yeah.
Nice little padding out of the bills right there. But, ladies and gentlemen, this show is it's a nice little show that we do every week, Monday, 8 a.m., YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, where me and Connor here come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and give you our 2 cents on them about all the happenings in the game industry, the new news that you need to know. And this week, Connor, I wanna jump into a few things that caught each of our eyes. But this week, I want to start with something that just catches my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just takes me for a ride, and I go, yeah, let's go, baby. And that's Resident Evil. You know. I don't know if I would call myself a long-term fan of Resident Evil, but
you're a big fan of it.
I enjoy Resident Evil a lot.
I mean, you played Resident Evil 2 when it came out, 3 when it came out, 7 when it came out. You'll be doing that.
I've played every mainline. I've played every mainline Resident Evil game, either in remake form or as they came to us. So I've played from 4 on. I've played every mainline release. Not the Revelation spin-off games or any of the other spin-offs.
What was your first Resident Evil game? 5? It was 5, wasn't it?
I think it was 5.
Mine was 5.
Yeah, I think it was 5. Which, boy, what a game to start with. Not a terrible game.
No.
Not a terrible game. Do you ever just think sometimes, you're just like, man, I could really go for some Resi 5 right now?
It's an easy game to get into.
It's an easy game. There have been multiple times I'm like, should I just text Connor, see if he wants to do some Resi 5?
Yeah, I get a casual play of Resident Evil.
Casual jump in. No, but this week, Resident Evil had a showcase premiering and showing off some Resident Evil 8 Village.
And accompanying news that will...
Yeah,
other things that
we'll
happened.
So, I want to talk about it real quick. So real quick, just a quick rundown of the showcase, and then we'll talk about, maybe some things that weren't there and why they may not be there. First off, did you watch the showcase?
I did, yes.
All right, it was about 30 minutes long. Not hard. 20, 30 minutes long. Not hard to get in and out at all.
An easy watch, and it was a pretty fun watch.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah.
They just gave some details of the game, and enough to keep you interested.
Yep. So they kicked it off with a new trailer showing sort of tone and imagery that we should be expecting. Cool trailer. I was into it. Yeah. I was like, all right, cool, but give me the juice. Give me the juice. Yeah. Let me know what's happening. And then they jumped straight into some nice little gameplay.
Yeah.
showed us what's up, and yeah, it looks like it's a sequel to Resident Evil 7.
I mean, the atmosphere that they've presented up until this point looks like it's going to be nailed in the game itself. But when it comes to the gameplay, as someone that didn't play Resident Evil 7, you noticed some differences to it. It looks very similar to
it is
7.
It is
the way you move, gunplay, all that.
Extremely similar. You know, the movement still looks stiff, the shooting still looks stiff. Literally the block animation is still the same animation where he just puts his hands up and he goes, ugh. But there were small tweaks that were made that I think will prove to be quite important. Resident Evil 7's combat was fine. It worked for what it was, but it did get old and it did kind of overstay its welcome a little bit.
Thankfully, from what we were just talking about earlier, it was a short game, so it never really it made you upset.
It never got offensive. It never got, Jesus Christ, can this be over? It wasn't like Alien Isolation, which, even though I think the combat in that game was better than what it was in Resi 7, Isolation overstayed its welcome. And now, with this, they've made small tweaks that I think will help out a lot. First being whatever this weird parry system that they've got going on, where you block an enemy and then you push them back to gain yourself some room. I like that a lot.
Do you think, like, I think I mentioned to you before when we were just, like, shooting the shit, but do you think they would do kind of like if you block it at a certain point, you won't take any damage? Because you still took damage in 7.
Yes.
You would just take reduced damage.
Oh, yeah.
You think this might add a bigger skill element into it, where you can, like, time it really well, certain attacks really well?
I think it'd be smart if they did.
Yeah. It seems like it would benefit from that a lot.
The only thing maybe that I would argue against that is because the game is so slow, assuming the game is at the same speed as 7. The game is so slow that I feel like that window would be either really hard to nail down or really easy to abuse.
Yeah.
So that mixed with the kickback, I feel like might make the game too easy. So you might still want some risk reward going on with, taking that reduced damage. Another thing that in the demo that they showed was just all the different enemy types. Mm-hmm. There were, I want to say, like 3 or 4 different enemy types going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's like way better than what was happening in Resident Evil 7, where we had 2.5. Really
better design too. Like another one, they're just like goopy monsters. This one, like, there's work put into them.
Yeah,
you got the weird, like, the ladies in the basement.
Just the fact that, like, some of them have weapons and some of them don't.
Yeah,
like that adds, and you can shoot their arms and they'll drop the weapons. And stuff.
Yeah,
like that adds so much more subtle complexity that I think it will just increase its enjoyable playtime overall. So yeah, we saw Ethan Winters returning, the protagonist from 7. He's going in, trying to save his daughter, and he meets some creepy folks. For whatever reason, I guess this is the thing with Ethan Winters. They just love just fucking with this dude, and he loses limbs and gets like all these big things stuck into him all the time.
There's
like,
a torture porn element to all that.
There really
suffering.
is.
I mean, I guess you see a lot of suffering going on in the world of Resident Evil, so it only makes sense that you're now not like an action star. You're just going to be getting
Resident Evil
is
no stranger to blood and gore. But Jesus Christ, like in 7, this man lost legs and arms, and then now just in this demo alone, he's got like this big sickle that gets driven into his leg and pulled into a different room by it. I'm like, Jesus!
Flies coming out of his hand. Like,
oh God,
I
forgot about that. Yeah, that was gross.
And his reaction to it's like, that hurt.
Honestly, that was about the reaction from 7.
He's just like,
not super emotive, that Ethan Winters.
No.
But yeah, it looks good. It looks pretty, which is something you can't say about Resident Evil 7. 7, not a pretty game at all.
I mean, like disgusting bayou environments make that not really shine, those graphics, or the graphics just suck on their own?
It's legitimately, like, it's bad. It's bad. It was bad when it came out, and it's bad now. It's probably terrible now. Especially the opening 10 minutes look horrendous. Horrendous. And we'll experience it because, eventually at some point on our own, we'll go back and we'll play some Resident Evil 7.
Yep. I'll be enjoying that.
Or we might do it during one of our little shows that we're announcing here at the end of this thing. Stay tuned. We got some exciting stuff happening.
Or
over
skip
here at Two Penny
to the
Games.
timestamp above.
Fuck! I forgot the. Oh shit! I forgot to put the. Whatever. That doesn't matter. Anyways. But yeah, Connor, as someone who casually enjoys an occasional Resident Evil, what did you think of Village?
I mean, well, the big thing that, like I said, they've been focusing on up until this point has been the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're nailing that right now.
Yep.
Specifically, the mansion looks very, very ornately done, which I'm
very
a big fan
classic
of.
Resident Evil. Which I've always said Resident Evil is at its best when it takes place in a location.
Yes, and
give
now
me
that's
a single location.
The village and the mansion, and the village looks
village
good too.
And mansion.
It looks
cool.
It looks dirty. It looks grimy. We haven't really seen the winding pathways that may or may not be there. It was going to be very basic, and it's going to be like you're going to walk into an area and say, okay, there's going to be enemies that are going to drop down. They're going to come here. We haven't seen really what it's fully capable of in that regard.
Yeah.
So I actually want to get my hands on the game and see gameplay.
Yep.
That's not, shown in a showcase.
Some extended, non-edited, show you what it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Combat does look stiff. I played a little bit of 7. Very, very little.
Very stiff.
It seemed like that's combat. Like you said, that was never really offensive to you. It never got that bad, partly because of the length of it. But it looked like if I had 3 hours of this, I feel like I'd be like, okay, I'm getting tired of this now.
It's combat that's riding on the shoulders of its atmosphere and its horror and its limited storytelling.
Yeah.
That combat on its own is a bad game, and that's shown through the DLCs that were put out later, the alternate modes that were unlocked after beating the game. Like, there's a combat trial mode that I played for 15 minutes, and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This is trash. But you take that combat and you place it on top of all the puzzles and all of the intricate level design, and you put it on top of the atmosphere, and you have yourself a pretty good game.
Yeah.
I think if you just dive deeper into that with Village, with bigger environments, more flexible environments, hopefully some better storytelling, hopefully some better voice acting, and then keep this Resident Evil tradition of just some pretty solid, pretty great puzzles going on.
Yeah.
And then I think you've got yourself a pretty good game.
Now, one thing that I've always liked about Resident Evil is that the characters all are pretty consistent across the games. You got Claire, you got Leon, you got Chris.
Consistent in what ways? In that they just return?
They just return. They're
okay.
always there.
I was going to say Resident Evil 2 Leon is not any other version of Leon.
No. But Chris Redfield is going to be in this game. He's one of the big promotions of it.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how his storyline plays out. I've always I know they're not amazingly well written.
What's weird is me as a fan who's a fan of Resident Evil. Could not care less.
You see, for some reason, it's not. They're not special characters.
No,
they're not particularly well voice acted or
written,
anything like that. But I just like to see the journey that they go on and how they end up. So that's actually the most enticing part about this game, outside of the atmosphere, because the combat, even though it has the chance of being surprising to me, my main draw is that element. Besides, the atmosphere and how good things look. So It looks like an enjoyable experience. It looks like what they've been promising up until this point.
Also worth noting that they seem to be taking a lot of notes from what worked in Resident Evil games from the past. Obviously, they're continuing that atmosphere that they established in 7. But they're also doing things like bringing the shopkeeper back from 4, or bringing the big monster things. Excuse me. From 4 as well. But it appears like they're doing that without losing the horror roots, which Resident Evil 4 began that journey, and is why we got games like 5 and 6, which were not the best.
Yeah, and those really... In Resident Evil 4, I've seen the boss fight, the first boss fight, the giant guy with the, parasite that comes out of his back and you got to shoot it and stuff. What do you call it? The troll?
Yeah, it's like a troll thing.
Yeah.
Or something, yeah.
It instantly just, really contrasted in a bad way with the rest of the game. From what I've seen, it just and that kind of cemented itself in later entries with the big, disgusting, bloated enemies that just kept coming backwards. Those kind of enemies always seem out of place in the game that I'm playing, and this one they seemed a lot more in the environment. I can imagine that being there.
I'm going to argue it works for 4, but it doesn't work so much for 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but that's not all they showed during the showcase. They gave us a release date, May 7th, 2021. Not as close as I was hoping, but not dramatically far, so I'm cool with waiting.
That's kind of an expected release window,
I'm assuming it was supposed to come out February, March, and then COVID pushed it back, which is fine. Put the game out when it's ready. Pre-orders are available now with assorted pre-order bonuses. Don't really care. I did think it was interesting that they announced a 2-pack where you can get Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8.
Yeah.
What was it, like $100 or something? So I was like, okay, that's kind of neat. There is a PlayStation 5 exclusive demo available now. You and I obviously have no access to that right now, as we cannot get our hands on a PlayStation 5. And then a different non-exclusive demo will be available later this spring. Cool. I don't even know if I want to play those demos. I might just want to jump in and see the game for what it is. But it is worth noting there was interesting stuff going on in the Resident Evil 2 remake demo, and specifically the Resident Evil 7 demos leading up to Resident Evil 7, where 2 remake, it was like the opening hours of 2, but they did change item locations and puzzle solutions in the final game. So it was still kind of fresh when you did get in there. 7, however, was the opening hours of 7, but the encounter was pretty dramatically different. And there was updates to that demo that changed it even more. So I don't know if maybe we're going to experience something like that in these demos. It was worth noting the demo that's out now on PS5 has no combat in it. I assume that means you just can't fight back.
Probably have to run, I would assume.
Yeah, lots of running around is what I think it is. But I haven't looked at it. I'm cool. I'll just play the game when it comes out, is kind of how I'm feeling.
It seems like it would feed into the game itself, because you're playing as someone known as the Maiden, and
I think that's his daughter.
I would think so too, but how old? Isn't his daughter like a baby?
Who knows?
Strange.
I don't know.
That could...
Connor, it's been so long, I don't even remember if the wife makes it out at the end of the Resident Evil 7. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think she does.
She does.
I feel like she does.
I know she does.
I feel like it's one of those things where like the game ends and then like it's like a video or something of her saying, "Hey, Ethan, I know I lied to you. I know I did all these like terrible things, but we need to figure it out. If you want, we can continue our..." Something like that. There's alternate endings to that game.
I didn't know that.
There's one very clear canon ending, and then there's another one that like you're just wasting your time if you do that one. Like I remember. Yeah, okay.
Like is there like the sad ending, the depressing ending where you die or something like that?
They like
where you just
I want to say like halfway to like maybe 2/3 of the way through, they give you a choice, and it's like, okay, well, I'm obviously gonna make this choice. If you make the other choice, you're just an idiot, or you're on your second playthrough and want to see what happmes.
Yeah, it's like letting someone die. I'm assuming. I guess you'll see what I did.
It's quite ridiculous. They also announced a crossover with the Division 2. You get to dress up as iconic Resident Evil characters in Division 2. Okay, cool. Whatever.
Kind of got it. Like, obviously they were like, this is Resident Evil, and I get that, but we do have Division 2, and we can play that. Can we do a little something?
Hey, you guys like money? we like money.
We like money.
You want to make some money?
Hey, can you just make some skins, please?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneeze.
Nice. Solid. And then, probably the biggest head scratcher, I think, of this whole thing, they announced a new multiplayer game / mode coming to Resident Evil Village. RE-verse. Oh, also, it's worth noting they showed an old trailer of the CGI Netflix show, but, like, who cares?
That didn't really tell me much.
Yeah, it didn't tell us much, and it didn't do anything for us, so, like, who cares? But a new multiplayer mode / game thing that comes with Village called RE-verse Resident Evil.
They're pushing the multiplayer still.
Listen, man, multiplayer has never worked for Resident Evil. Never.
Co-op has worked, but not multiplayer.
Co-op has worked barely.
Hey, Resident Evil 5 was good.
Resident Evil's fine. Resident Evil 5 was fun. Resident Evil 6, you're wasting your time. Like,
yeah, Resident
but
Evil
that's
6
the game in general, probably.
Probably it is.
It is.
We've played it.
But like this, like PvP game mode stuff like that, like that's in 5. I think there's PvP game mode. No, it's a competitive mode where you're like trying to outscore each other in 5, and that worked okay. The mercenaries mode and that worked okay for what it was. Just 6, I don't even remember. There was a thing where you got to invade other players' worlds and then just let
6?
Yeah, and you just let the other players kill you. Yeah, so like you could invade and like take over a zombie and then go and try and fuck up the players, but it was bad.
No one used it,
and no one used it because it was bad. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 tried to do something similar, and that was bad too.
Yeah, they did the base thing.
Oh, right, that was a little better. But yeah, and then with Resident Evil 3 Remake, they've done this weird asymmetric multiplayer thing where like someone plays like this guy trying to kill some survivors, and And, it was met with a big meh.
Wasn't terrible,
Just
but
a big meh.
Kind of like, why would you make this when you could just focus solely on Resident Evil 3?
Yeah, and just make it, and it was so clearly like a pack-in, like quickly done to justify the price of Resident Evil 3. And everyone was like, eh. So why so quickly are we doing this? Where this is just some weird PvP mode where it just looks like we're just slaughtering each other for funsies?
Now, something I had also mentioned to you before is that someone took note that what they may have done is they take Resident Evil environments, like from Resident Evil 2, put the character models in there, and just shrunk down the character models to make it seem bigger than it actually is. I was thinking, if they actually did do that, which it seems like they did, is it going to be like a miniature Battle Royale type thing, where people are going to start in different places of the whole police station in Resident Evil 2?
If it's like an elimination game mode where you have to, like, run up, but like there's so many like blocked passageways, you'd have to open all those up.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like
you would somehow have to like make it possible to get from one part, speaking specifically to the Raccoon City Police Department, you have to specifically like open up pathways to get from one part of the police department to the other, because there's only two ways across. You're either on the ground floor and you take the main hall, or you're up in the attic and you go over that way. So there needs to be like an easier way to cross over without meeting other players like that. I don't know, man. But like, they didn't show us enough information to let us know what this is. It just looked like Resident Evil characters just killing each other.
They had a lot of Resident Evil characters in there.
It was so weird. It was so weird, but it was so cool to see. I think he's Joe Baker. I forget what his first name is, but the
male Baker,
the main husband. Baker, the dad, husband guy from Resident Evil 7. He was in there, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever.
Running around the chainsaw.
Somebody turned into Nemesis at some point, and I was like,
the power up, obviously.
Okay, cool, I guess. Like, is that just a win button? Like, oh, I get to be Nemesis for 120 seconds. Okay, now I run around and slaughter everybody. Like,
that actually, a system like that makes me think it's just going to be a basic team deathmatch game, maybe with some objectives sprinkled in there. Who knows? They didn't show us. They didn't even give us details. Like, not even. They didn't even tell us what's going on.
I'm so cool. Like, I'm cool, dude. Just give me the main game. That's all I really want.
I mean, this looks like it's unlike Resident Evil 3, a justified purchase for a full game. So I guess you'd like. But you're going to add that on there.
It looks like Village is going to be meaty enough for us to. I mean, I guess there was a conversation if Resident Evil 7 was big enough, but 8 hours, $60, great experience, mostly great experience. Cool. Yeah, I'm cool with paying $60 for that. Resident Evil 3, you finish on your first playthrough 5 to 6 hours.
For not even that good of a game.
For, one that is distinguished, like, distinctly, like, lesser than the one that came before it. Mm-hmm. I mean, Resident Evil 2 is short, too, but, like, still takes, if you speedrun it, still takes, like, 3 hours.
And the game itself had better environments.
Yep, better puzzles. And
better puzzles, better
more
items.
Puzzles, and better stories, and
everything was better in that
just
game,
the dual perspective of Claire and Leon's storylines just doubled your game time.
Yeah, as opposed to the one with Jill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just wasn't worth it. Resident Evil 7, I mean, that's a full game. 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, that's a full game. Yeah. I'm cool with that. And there was some replayability in it as well. The Madhouse difficulty was phenomenal because it rearranged all the item locations and, changed a few things. And I was super into that. But anyways, Connor, that was about it for the showcase.
Yeah.
What did you think overall?
The Resident Evil 8 stuff was interesting. I didn't feel like I wanted to skip any of that at all. As I said about the main selling points I've seen of the game so far, it showcased those. I had an enjoyable time, but when that ended, it showed the CG trailer, which looked like all those other CG Resident Evil shows that have come out in the past, movies, that didn't look good.
Yeah,
it doesn't look appealing at all.
This one looks a little better. Like they're doing better. They're doing better. Like at least with like the one thing they've shown twice now.
Yeah, it looks better, but is it going to be better? It doesn't really have much goodwill with me there.
If you give us an okay little, is this a series or a movie? This is a series.
Series, yes.
Which is like an okay little horror little horror animated show. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then you had Reverse, which I was like confused at.
Who cares?
Yeah. It was an overall average showcase. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't
I'm
amazing.
with you. I was expecting a little more. Specifically, I was expecting a Resident Evil 4 announcement, remake announcement. But turns out there's some little bit of behind the scenes drama going on with that. So we're gonna tack on a real quick little side note that we pulled from VideoGamesChronicle.com by Andy Robinson. Sources: Capcom has overhauled its plans for a Resident Evil 4 remake. Capcom's in-development Resident Evil 4 remake has seen a major change of leadership due to disagreements over its direction, according to people with knowledge of the project. New studio M2 has seen its role significantly reduced on the unannounced project, the sources told VGC. And mainline Resident Evil studio Capcom Division 1 has been brought in to lead a new direction. As first reported by VGC last year, the Resident Evil 4 remake has been in development since 2018, led by Osaka-based M2, the studio founded by former Platinum Games head Tatsuya Minami. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Little has been shared publicly about M2, but people with knowledge of the company said it was partly funded by Capcom and comprised of some former Platinum Games employees, including developers for Metal Gear Rising and Bayonetta 2 teams. Our original report on M2 and Minami's involvement, published in December 2019, was later confirmed by the credits of Resident Evil 3. The company contributed to the development of 2020's RE3 remake, with Minami taking on an executive producer role, but the startup's main purpose was always to lead the next bigger remake, Resident Evil 4. However, multiple sources that have indicated that, following a key project review late last year, it was decided that M2's role on RE4's remake would be significantly reduced. Capcom's Division 1, the internal team responsible for Resident Evil and Devil May Cry games, has now been brought in to lead the RE4 project, VGC understands. It's believed that the disagreements that led to M2's reduced role involved in the studio's desire to stick faithfully to the template of the original Resident Evil 4, partly influenced by backlash to Resident Evil 3's remake, which did not include significant portions of the original PlayStation game, much to fans' disappointments. Capcom's production team, however, is said to prefer a direction which would see RE4's remake inspired by the original, but with its own unique take on features, story elements, and environments not necessarily confined to the blueprint of the original, similar to RE2's use of Mr. X. Sources said that Resident Evil 4's remake would now be partially rebooted under the new mandate, which could see its release delayed as much as a year to 2023. It's worth noting that this isn't like the first time this has happened for Resident Evil. It happened to RE2 remake. It happened to RE3 remake. And it's happened to a bunch of other games. Final Fantasy VII remake, I think most famously being the prime example of that, where like that game, an entire studio, the game was said, hey, nope, y'all not doing the right job. We're giving it back to the main guys instead.
Yeah.
How do we feel about this, Connor?
Well, we were talking about it before. We both like that Capcom was deciding to seemingly make it in line with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. We don't really know what they exactly meant when they said they want to take it in these new directions,
right,
with new story elements. But if it's what we think it's going to be, with tying into the other Resident Evil remakes, I think it's just a better thing to do. Especially when you have possibly the removal of things like the same exact layout of the game, because you've played Resident Evil 4, and you constantly say that the village is the best part of the game.
Yes.
And though the game is good overall, it diverges and goes into areas that are not that good.
I find less interesting.
Less interesting, yeah. They could change that. They could remove the whole thing of where you have to escort the president's daughter.
Maybe. Oh no, you have to have Ashley in there.
But like, will it be as central in gameplay because you had to constantly make sure she was there?
I would assume so.
You would think they would keep that?
Yes.
A lot of people hated that when it came out.
Well, yes, because Resident Evil 4 is an action game. So I don't want to babysit, and the Ashley mechanic works in horror games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and if they do make that horror games, I see.
You see?
Yeah. So in that case, if they do take that horror turn to it, they're diving into that more. This just kind of seems like the best move that Capcom could have made. I don't know if they needed to take the game away from M2, or rather they could have just
reduced their role.
Or reduced their role. They could have just maybe forced them to do what they wanted to,
sure,
because they do have the rights to Resident Evil. But
if I were to guess, and I were to put my little theory cap on, M2 are the people who are people from what was it, Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising?
Yeah, Platinum Games.
So I'm assuming, knowing Resident Evil 4's history, which, to catch you up real quickly, if you don't know, after Resident Evil 3, the team was looking to take Resident Evil in a new direction. They tried a bunch of different things. One idea that they got the furthest into before saying, actually, this isn't right for Resident Evil, was a demo that then turned into the first Devil May Cry game.
Yes.
So, with Resident Evil 4 being... And then it was rebooted and turned into the RE4, we know. So, with the close-tied history with that, mixed with what developers you put this game's hands into, it sounds like to me they were going to make an even more action-y Resident Evil 4. I'm guessing. Totally guessing. 100% take everything that I just said with a grain of salt. Well, and if I were to guess, Division 1, Resident Evil team proper, was more like, hey, whoa. That's cool. We want it more in line with this remake series that we've been doing.
Yeah.
You know, which is what me as a fan, I personally want. I want Resident Evil 4 to be a horror game.
I mean, some of the things that made games like Resident Evil 2 when it came out as memorable as it was were those horror elements. I mean, you had
the original game?
Yeah, well, in the remake.
The remake, okay.
You had Mr. X take a more central role, and Twitch streamers all over were just constantly posting clips of their experiences with the game, and it generated a lot of hype about the game as a whole.
I so wish we had a recording of the first time you met Mr. X.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been.
That
may have joined some of those classic moments, but it's, as you said before, I mean, Platinum Games is known for their very good action games, so they probably would have been more comfortable with keeping it in line with the original Resident Evil that was a primarily action game instead of a horror game. Mm-hmm. So that could probably be one of the reasons why Strife came about. Which just the developers themselves going about it differently.
I'm sure there are many fans of Resident Evil 4 that would prefer just a straight a straight up remake in the more traditional sense of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
I personally don't want that. I want a remake with mostly the same gameplay, but I literally just want what they did to 2 done to 4 in terms of tone and environments and so forth. So who knows? We'll find out. Obviously, it'll be a little while, but you know, I can wait. Mm-hmm. Connor, that's my first penny of today. So let's go ahead and jump straight into probably definitely your first penny. You know what? I'm gonna let you choose.
You let me choose? Well, let's do the Valve story, because I brought it up earlier.
All right. So, Gabe Newell says Valve has more games in development waiting to be announced. This is from IGN by Jordan Alleman. In an interview with New Zealand's One News, Valve boss Gabe Newell has said that multiple games are in development at that studio and are waiting to be announced. Valve co-founder has been staying in New Zealand during the COVID-19 pandemic after taking a vacation there following the launch of Half-Life Alyx. Quote, we definitely have more games in development that we're going... Let me start that over. Quote, we definitely have games in development that we're going to be announcing. It's fun to ship games, end quote, Newell said, when asked about the future games coming out of Valve. Valve has developed and subsequently canceled a lot of games in the past, including several versions of Half-Life 3. The fact that Newell specifically says these new games will be announced suggests a shift from the company's recent history of being reticent to release new software. Newell also spoke about the process created. Does any of this matter? I don't know if any of this matters.
Basically, that Half-Life Alyx generated more people to want to make games.
Put some gas in their tank.
Yeah. Because I remember pretty notoriously they were like, we're not going to really make games anymore because we have, the Steam
makes them a lot of money.
We're doing our things, and that's more profitable and easier to do than constantly having games in production. I remember that upset a lot of people because obviously, notoriously, once again, Half-Life ended off on a cliffhanger, and everybody wants to see the continuation of it.
There's also
still haven't seen
that joke of like Valve can't count to 3 with Portal never making it past 2, Team Fortress never making it past 2, Half-Life never making it past 2, Episode 2.
So much so that we there's a Left 4 Dead similar game coming out.
Left 4 Dead
Back
2.
for Blood. Yeah. Left 4 Dead was the other one.
Another Valve Games game. And ever since Steam, it's really been all quiet from Valve from a game direction side.
Yeah.
So this is cool, interesting, exciting. Let's see if it actually comes to meet something. If I'm gonna guess, though Half-Life Alyx came out and people loved it, I'm gonna guess that's probably gonna be it for a while.
For Half-Life games or just Valve games?
Valve games in general, I'm gonna guess.
They did say they would just have games in the backlog to announce later on. Not it could be a while before it actually comes out.
To which I go, okay, what is it? Is it finally a Team Fortress 3? Does anybody want that anymore?
Do people play the hell out of Team Fortress 2 still?
Yeah.
I think there's there's still a lot of value there.
I think some hardcore 40-year-old men played Team Fortress 2 still. But, what fucking 15-year-old is going to be interested in playing a Team Fortress 3?
Well, I mean, games nowadays that have, very character-based multiplayer games where they have certain abilities and they have certain roles in the game itself. Team Fortress kind of began all that. Team Fortress is what I see as the progenitor of the hero shooter. So seeing as that's still a big thing, it's bigger than it ever has been before, they could come and say, okay, we're going to make it a name for ourselves. We started this whole trend. Let's
show you what's up.
Player, yeah.
I could see that. That's a possibility. Now, they could make the first VR hero shooter, which would be interesting.
They could. They did have
unless there was like a Rainbow Six Siege rip-off game that was in VR, but I don't think that was a hero shooter. I think that was just a regular shooter, and you just chose your favorite.
Might have been, yeah.
But
I don't think Left 4 Dead.
The only franchise I'm looking at, no, because you've lost the Left 4 Dead guys. They're out making Back 4 Blood now.
I would. Okay, go on.
Half-Life, I think, stays in VR. I don't think you do anything with Half-Life outside of VR.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna say, that they would want to reach to a greater audience if they're trying to come back with making games now by making a normal Half-Life 3. Because Half-Life Alyx was apparently very good, but how many people do you know have a VR headset that they can play Half-Life Alyx?
Me personally, not a one, but I don't know enough gamers.
Yeah, but it's not as much as they would reach with a base Half-Life 3 game.
You're right. Which is why I think you don't do it, because Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 and the subsequent episodes of Half-Life 2 hold such weight and such clout in the gaming culture that you don't take a risk and make a traditional Half-Life 3. You instead trailblaze and make Half-Life Alyx, which is a great VR game that is now setting the standard for what VR games should be. You just do that with Half-Life. To me, and you probably even do it with Portal if you can figure a way around motion sickness around it. So to me, I'm looking at your existing franchises and I go, what do you guys still have? And who would be interested in that? Okay, we make a Team Fortress 3 game. Cool. What? Are you going to charge money for it? How do you...
They may not.
That genre is crowded. Overwatch already has all the clout. Overwatch 2, if and when that comes out, is going to be, big enough. Valorant is free to play, to which you just look at all this and you go, okay, so what are you going to offer with Team Fortress 3 that is going to draw me in and make me want to play?
A lot of it really depends on the audience reaction to what would be done with it. I still personally think their greatest asset is Half-Life 3. People still
I agree,
want that game.
But I just don't think you make a regular game.
I'd say they would, but my issue is that it happened a little while ago, but the last person that worked on Half-Life 2 left Valve fairly recently. So there's none of the original team still there anymore. So would they be able to capture the same spirit and love for those games by making a sequel to that? That's my big issue.
I go, don't even try.
You think they should keep the image of Half-Life up rather than
keep it what it is, and then make something new. You are not the Valve of old. You're just not. You can't be. Many of your teams are gone. All of your creative leaders are gone. All the people who went there to make games, they're not there anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, they still have some great talent over there because Half-Life Alyx was a hit.
Yeah.
And I think they could very easily bring a bunch of new creatives, talented creatives into the fold, or even bring back some old ones.
Depends how they would react to all this. If they would want to come back and spend their time working for a company
that
may even still cancel it.
Yeah, they're all probably busy. And why would you want to come back and be like, yeah, I'll make games, and then, as you said, just have it canceled again, like all these other games have been canceled. I just look at all this and I go, why?
I could see a lot of value coming out of this, mainly because, I've played Half-Life 2 recently. I didn't play it originally, and it's a game that holds up. I mean, you also have the physics mechanics of that game.
Does it?
Yeah, it does hold up very, very well.
Okay.
And then you have the physics of that game, which were game-changing at the time. It was a trendsetter, and it's a popular one, too.
Again, why they should just continue, diving deeper into VR, because that's obviously where this new innovative space should go. So, I don't know. We'll find out. It's more wait and see, like many things in this industry.
See what they announce.
But for now, Connor, let's go ahead. Let's jump into my second penny of the day, just because I think we can get in and get out real quickly. Some drama was happening over at Microsoft with their Xbox Live Gold. Now, I'm going to pull this article from The Verge by Sam Byford, who I think summarizes it all pretty quickly and pretty easily. Article is titled, Microsoft Backtracks on Xbox Live Gold Price Hike. Microsoft has reversed its controversial Xbox Live price increase. The company announced a price hike on Friday that would have doubled the cost of a yearly subscription to the service, which is required to play online on Xbox consoles, to $120 for many users. Now, though Microsoft says the price will stay the same, Beyond that, Microsoft has decided to bring Xbox Live in line with Sony and Nintendo's online services by dropping the subscription requirement for free-to-play games. Popular free-to-play titles like Fortnite are available on PlayStation consoles and the Nintendo Switch without an online subscription, but you still need one for Xbox consoles. Microsoft says it's, quote, working hard to deliver the change as soon as possible in the coming months. Microsoft's full statement, which was just delivered as an update to a blog post, reads, quote, we messed up today, and you were right to let us know. Connecting and playing with friends is a vital part of gaming, and we failed to meet the expectations of players who count on it every day. As a result, we have decided not to change Xbox Live Gold pricing. We're turning this moment into an opportunity to bring Xbox Live more in line with how we see the player at the center of their experience. For free-to-play games, you will no longer need an Xbox Live Gold membership to play those games on Xbox. We are working hard to deliver this change as soon as possible in the coming months. If you are an Xbox Live Gold member already, you stay at your current price for renewal. New and existing members can continue to enjoy Xbox Live Gold for the same prices they pay today. In the US, $9.99 for 1 month, $24.99 for 3 months, $39.99 for 6 months, and $59.99 for retail 12 months. Thank you. So, I forget what the actual breakdown was, but it was a 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and then they got rid of their yearly option. And for their 6 months, it was like $60. So you're paying for the best deal. You're paying $120. That's double the price. For Xbox Live Gold, to which you sit there and you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have to pay $120 to play games online, to talk with my friends. Sure, you throw in 2 free games every month, but how many of those games are bangers? And you want me to subscribe to Game Pass? That's a lot, dude. So rightfully, people were upset about that, and clearly Microsoft is saying, oh, okay, fuck, fine. Here, same price. You get those. Did I read that right?
It's a lot to keep up with because
there's
so many subscription options.
Hold on, let me pull up this other thing because I could have swore, unless I'm tripping. Oh, okay. No, I'm incorrect. All right. So there was something else that I thought was included there. That's not true. Okay. So, in which case, it's nice that free-to-play games are now, you no longer need Xbox Live Gold, so Fortnite can now be played by everybody with an Xbox now.
Woohoo!
Cool. And subsequent games that are free-to-play. So, nice that, Microsoft is taking this to be like, oh, okay, here, even for a mess up, here's some more to, just make you want to play on Xbox more. Cool. Neat. This, I think, does one of two things. It either blows a hole in my prediction that Xbox Live Gold will be retired or merged into Game Pass. It either blows that out of the water, or it cements it as a possibility of happening. Could go either way. I don't know. I still say, why are you still bothering with Gold? Why don't you just do a price hike on Game Pass and merge the two?
Mm-hmm. They didn't seem to take that route with all the lashback they got.
Not this last week, no. But, who knows? Maybe
There is still potential for that idea in the future, but they're kind of just... They still want to keep that PR up. They don't want to upset anybody right now, so I guess that was just their main priority, and not screwing over the players that, want to play their stuff.
Yep. So, Connor, let's move in to your second penny, our final penny of the day. One that, honestly, fucking sucks. I don't like this one bit.
And you're probably in line with a lot of the other people who have heard this news.
Yeah. So, Vicarious Visions merged into Blizzard. This is from GameIndustry.biz by Brendan Sinclair. Longtime Activision publishing studio will be, quote, fully dedicated to Blizzard titles going forward. Former studio head Jen O'Neill promoted to Blizzard's leadership's team. Activision Blizzard has moved its Vicarious Vision studios from the Activision side of business to the Blizzard side. The publisher today told GameIndustry.biz that effective today being Friday, it is merging Vicarious Visions into Blizzard Entertainment. Going forward, the Vicarious Vision team of about 200 people will be employees of Blizzard and, quote, fully dedicated to existing Blizzard games and initiatives. Which means the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 studio will no longer be creating games as the lead developer. Quote, after collaborating with Vicarious Visions for some time and developing a great relationship, Blizzard realized there was an opportunity for Vicarious Visions to provide long-term support, a representative explained to us. They declined to specify what the team has been working on with Blizzard or for how long. As part of the move, Vicarious Visions studio head Jen O'Neill has been promoted to Blizzard Executive Vice President of Development, where she joins the company's leadership team and will report directly to Blizzard President J. Allen Brack. O'Neill is being replaced in the Vicarious Visions studio head role by Simon Ebinger, who previously served as Chief Operating Officer for the studio. Vicarious Visions was acquired by Activision in 2005 and has worked on many of the publisher's biggest franchises over the years, including Guitar Hero, Spider-Man, Tony Hawk, Crash Bandicoot, Destiny, Skylanders, and Call of Duty. The studio will remain in Albany, New York. Man, this fucking blows.
Yeah, when I think about stuff like this, I think about the people who make the games. Mm-hmm. How must it feel to be working on something like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, a game that they may have liked making, that the people obviously really liked making,
a franchise that was fucking dying.
Yeah, and then they brought it back.
They're bringing it back from the grave and giving it new life and new energy,
and thinking it can go in a nice new direction. They're like, well, instead we have like Overwatch skins and Warcraft stuff and Overwatch 2. So you got to go work on that kind of stuff.
Of talent.
It is.
What a waste.
So as a journalist, a journalism student, and one who's recently graduated, there's lots of different areas you can go into with journalism, and what you want to go into is a big determining factor on how much you take pride in what you're doing. So games journalism, travel writing, local news, all that kind of stuff. And me personally, I can understand how much it must suck to be wanting to make original games under a unique studio and do something crazy like this, only to be screwed over and said, oh, you're going to make content that's just like, seems very monotonous and corporate-y.
Like, it's clear that like they are just now being pushed into a support role.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, what they just make Overwatch skins or Warcraft.
What are they gonna do?
Or like maybe help make maps for Overwatch or some shit.
Things that like, why do you need a studio that already proved their mettle doing something different?
Yeah.
To do stuff like that, which you've been doing for years
like,
now.
It's not even like, oh, they get to do quasi-exciting stuff and work on Call of Duty some more. No, like, it's just Blizzard stuff now.
Yeah.
So, like, all the Activision titles that, they could dip into and have fun with, all of that, not anymore. Like, I don't know, man. This company continuously just makes just the wrong decisions again and again and again. Yeah. And it, god damn, they giving EA a run for their money, if not just completely blowing them out of the water. It's just the, like, least fulfilling, least interesting, least consumer-friendly company to work for in the games industry.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And usually you would think kind of stuff like this is rewarded. And that really makes me angry, is that rather than rewarding making good games, you're being pushed aside because they want to make money, as much money as they can.
A game that just won a Game Award.
Yeah.
I'm assuming sold well for Tony Hawk Games. You know, just brought back all of this great goodwill, and then you're just throwing that all away by just taking this super talented team, 200 people, and throwing them into a support.
Yeah.
Like, what are they gonna do? Like
trash.
What does Overwatch 2 really require to where you need another 200 people?
I mean, even our friends who are die-hard Overwatch players are like, well, you can just play Overwatch 2 stuff in Overwatch 1, so we're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So,
those
well,
kind of people,
that's a confusing thing that I don't know if that decision is going to live.
Yeah. If it screws them in the ass, good. Frankly.
I don't know, man.
Like, Jesus Christ. This stuff kind of makes me very upset.
Now, assuming, of course, this team doesn't want to do this.
Like,
if they're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll work on Overwatch, cool, more power to you.
That's fine. But I feel like most people would be like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. To me, it would have been like, oh, well, let's make a new Tony Hawk game. That was my logical, like, oh, okay, they're gonna make a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater 6 or just drop the numbers completely and just Tony Hawk Pro Skater something.
Even another game entirely, they could have just done that.
Exactly,
but not anymore.
What a waste.
Yeah.
Anyways, Connor, that wraps it up for our pennies this week. Pretty solid. Pretty solid week. What's going on?
We I keep thinking that we were going to be very dead these couple months, but things happen.
Here we are. I was only worried about that first week or so of January. I do want to give a shout out to and a salute to a homie who there's a guy who worked at Nintendo who created the character designs for Captain Falcon, Fox, McCloud, Majora's Mask, and some other stuff. Where is his name? Takaya Imamura, I think. Salute to him. He retired this last week.
Good for making good games, good game content.
Salute to an innovator like that. And there was a bunch of other stuff we missed, but it was more like we'll wait and see what happens, and just more intrigue and stuff, but of less consequence than the stuff we covered this week. But Connor, let's go ahead and jump into what we've been playing. Connor,
I'll start it off.
What have you been playing?
Valorant.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Because every single time I get on, it's like, well, the guys are playing Valorant, and I want to play too. Because it's just a fun game to sink time into. It's very, very fun.
It's a good game.
Yeah. It feels good to get kills.
It does.
Get at the game. We started jumping into competitive, actually, because we've done unrated for a while. Like, might as well make some kind of leveling up experience into the game with the ranks and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's not like other games where anything really negative happens if you go down in rank other than your own, like, personal pride and respect for yourself as a Valorant player. So, I've been doing that.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I've been playing a little bit of Valorant as well with you and the guys. Just a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Played a touch of Apex, not nearly as much as I wanted to. That Battle Pass is ending soon. I needed to get on that, but who knows if I will. Touch of Battlefront 2, but most of my time has been dedicated to cleaning up this Persona 5 Platinum. I am currently at the original game's final boss.
Okay.
Working my way through that. It's a very narrative-heavy thing, so I'm, lots of talking in between, lots of breaks in between battles. The fight has multiple stages. So yeah, I'm just currently kind of just in the middle of that.
Getting that grind done.
So I should be finishing that up, here in the next day or two. I don't have a lot of time right now. And then diving into that new Royal content. And
yes. Finally, how that is. Now, I haven't played this yet, but I plan on playing it soon. One of the free games for PlayStation this month, if you didn't know already, is something called Greedfall. Do you know anything about Greedfall? It's an RPG game that looks very, very interesting to me. It was rated very well when it came out. I plan on playing that as pretty soon as possible. So, I really need to download it before it's not available anymore this month. Especially because it's a $50 game on the store for free right now. It's kind of just a good thing to go with.
7 out of 10 on Steam.
Yeah, so like
8.2 on IGN.
Like, seems like just like a solid game from what people have played. Nice premise and good, role playing
some kind
elements
of
in there.
Fantasy.
Yeah, it's like basically you're a guy
who's wearing like a cowboy hat. What's going on here?
Well, because like you come from some kind of colonial England place or like English place from the 1800s.
Yeah, some colonial stuff. And
yeah,
then,
and you're going into a new area where nature is the big thing. You know, it's untainted forests, wildlife, and tree people, like dryads and stuff like that. And you're pretty much taking over their land, or you can side with them. It's kind of like a...
This is available now for
It's
free
available
on
now for
PlayStation?
PlayStation, yeah. I've always wanted to play it. It's available now, so I was going to get it soon.
Oh,
Yeah. Figured I'd let you know about it here.
I might look into that.
Haven't played it yet, but I will soon. Maybe next time I'm on here, we'll
have something to say about it.
Say something about it.
Maybe. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Interesting little pull. No Hitman 3 from you, Connor?
No, not at all.
No.
I've never been a Hitman fan. I played the newest one before Hitman 3 a little tiny bit. It just
Hitman
wasn't
2
like
or just the Hitman
2
reboot? You played a
No,
little bit?
the reboot. The
Reboot?
reboot. Yeah, it was like a weird demo type thing or something like that.
They had split their levels up episodically.
Yeah.
Because the point of Hitman is to play and then replay and replay a level and figure out all the nook and crannies and stuff. People seem to really like Hitman 3. Almost so that I was almost I was like, oh, maybe I will check it out and go buy it or whatever. And I was like, you know what, I'm good. I've still got this backlog that I want to work down.
There's other games there for you.
Yeah, no reason to add another game to the pile. So, Connor, I think that'll about do it for this week then.
Yes.
Hour and a minute solid amounts. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your 2 Penny Gamescast. It's worth noting this week, Tuesday, we're hoping for about 1 p.m. Central Time. Me and my good buddy Phil will be going live with a new streaming series we're doing called Have You Ever Played? Acronymed to be HYPE, H-Y-E-P, in which we bring a new game to each other that one of us has played and the other one hasn't, and we show it to each other, and we'll do a full playthrough. We're starting this week off with the first Metal Gear Solid. Phil's first time playing it. I've played Metal Gear Solid a dozen times. So I'm very excited to jump in. We'll be streaming for hours.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. I don't know if we're going to do one full sitting or if we'll do like most of the game and then start and finish it next week or something. But yeah, every Tuesday, hopefully about 1 p.m., we'll be going live with that. So come check us out. We will put out a little... we'll put it out on YouTube eventually as its own standalone thing that you can go back and rewatch on your own. I don't quite know what the format of that will be, if it'll be just one long video, or if it'll be cut up and we'll do it in like 20-minute chunks or whatever, or whatever makes sense. We'll figure that out as we go along. But as for right now, check us out, twitch.tv/2pennygames. Hit the subscribe or the follow button over there. Give us some love. Come check us out, all of that. But until then, you can find this show every Monday, 8 a.m., Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Yeah.
The usual places.
Connor, say bye to the people.
Bye, guys.